The Dothraki are going to be in quite a few episodes this final season. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in every single episode, but I have a feeling they get back to King's Landing at one point. So this video, I want to talk about my theories of why I think that's going to happen. Hey, warning, this video will involve spoilers and leaks. If you don't want to hear spoiler talk, please don't watch this video. I'm not saying I know the Dothraki are going to be at King's Landing. I'm just saying that if you don't want certain other things spoiled for you, please don't watch. You need to click off before 3, 2, 1. Okay, so with them gone, we absolutely know that the Dothraki will end up at King's Landing at one point in the final season due to leaks. Though I feel like a child could reason that. I mean, if you don't think they're going to end up at King's Landing again, wow. These theories will be based off of leaks and my own speculation, which hopefully isn't too tinfoily, but hey, when you're crazy, it's hard to know how crazy you actually are. Alright, so with that out of the way, this video, I want to talk about why the Dothraki and Unsullied will be paying a visit to King's Landing again this season, and what that could mean for our very special Mad Queen. So the final season of Game of Thrones is going to be a heartbreaker. We have Jon and Dany going to the north to beat back the others, which is going to result in a lot of death. Euron heading to Essos to get reinforcements for his new queen, and Cersei being Cersei in King's Landing. We ended last season with boat sex, but also with Dany, her army of Unsullied and Dothraki, paying Cersei a visit at King's Landing, making a truce, though Cersei lied about helping them, and Dany and her army heading north to deal with the whole undead problem. While I'm sure the Dothraki and Unsullied will be spending considerable time in the north fighting back the others and the undead, they'll eventually be coming back south to pay Cersei another visit. In really depleted numbers, though. Remember those leaks showing Dothraki extras with green pieces attached to them and their horses in a wintry scene? Yeah, that's because some of them are going to die and be reanimated while fighting in the north, and they're going to add in bones and gore in posts. We're going to be seeing some Dothraki and Unsullied whites. I am just so freaking excited about undead Dothraki and Unsullied. More so, undead Dothraki on undead horses. Anyway, so the Dothraki and Unsullied, what's left of them, will eventually end up at King's Landing. How do I know that? Well, leaked photos and videos showed both Dothraki and Unsullied outside of King's Landing again for the final season and marching in. So it's pretty much canon at this point that they go back to King's Landing in the final season at some point. That's not really in question at this point. What is being questioned is why they return to King's Landing and under what circumstances. So this video, I want to talk about why I think they'll be at King's Landing. Like I said in the beginning. So let's just start talking about it. First theory, and the most optimistic one, which means it's absolutely not going to happen, is they march to King's Landing after Dany and Jon take care of the others and want to slap Cersei around for backstabbing them and not sending the help she promised. With this theory, I believe we see the defeat of the Night King and his buddies by episode 3 when the big battle at Winterfell happens. And then a very pissed Dragon Queen is ready to finally take what is hers. The entire 7 kingdoms. But again, that seems a bit too happy, even if Dany and Jon do lose a lot of friends and men along the way. At least one dragon is going to be at King's Landing. If you watch my Game of Thrones filming news, you know a giant dragon prop was put in the King's Landing set they built for the final season. Yeah, and I guess if you're not up to date on that, they actually built their own King's Landing set so they could destroy it this final season, because obviously you can't be destroying the normal location they use for King's Landing. Some people would probably be pretty pissed about that. Of course, I'm still having a hard time deciding if that dragon prop that was put next to the King's Landing set is Dany, Jon, or the Night King flying into King's Landing to wreck the place. As we've seen so much damage through leaks done to the King's Landing set with charred buildings and lots of fire, and they decided to build a King's Landing set so they could wreck it, it makes me wonder who caused it. The Night King, Jon, and/or Dany could all do it. For this video, I'm leaning more towards it being Dany or Jon on a dragon at King's Landing. If this does happen, though, there's going to be a lot of death at King's Landing. I feel like more so with Dany than Jon, but either way, a lot of death. An enraged Dany could set her Unsullied and Dothraki loose on the city, and the small folk will suffer as they often do in times of war. I'd imagine if this scenario happens, Jon is not going to be happy with Dany. If he has control of a dragon that's named after his bio dad, this could lead to an awesome fight between Jon and Dany as he tries to get her to calm her shit. But because D&D the showrunners are no fun and they said we won't see Dany ever become like her father, the Mad King, we can probably strike that possibility. However, Emilia Clarke did say Dany was going to do some things this season that may change how people perceive her, so maybe batshit crazy Dragon Queen is gonna happen. Though here's what makes me lean a little bit more towards Dany, with her taking the Dothraki to the capital to kick Cersei's teeth in. Why? Well, because of the redecorating we saw at the King's Landing set. So leaks showed that not only is King's Landing getting pretty beat up, but the Lannister flags were being torn down. And there were an obnoxious amount of Lannister flags at one point. I don't know about you, but I don't see the Night King redecorating after taking King's Landing. Seems like a stupid thing for him to worry about. Some lion banners? Let them stay up. Why do I give a fuck? I just want to see everyone become the undead. Unless the Night King has an ego, which he may. Personally, though, I feel like Dany would have a much more emotional response to seeing Lannister banners up. I could see her taking her Dothraki and Unsullied through the city and ripping the banners down after she secures the city. Even the fact we saw the Red Keep get a fresh paint of white could play into that. Joffrey let us know why the Red Keep was red in the show. Maybe Dany thinks it's time to change that. The constant threat of death if you disobey. Of course, since we know Euron went to get the Golden Company, Euron could return to King's Landing with the mercenary group, and we see an epic battle thrown down between Dany and Jon and Euron and Cersei, even if Dany doesn't go loco. The Unsullied and Dothraki against the Golden Company when Jon and or Dany go back to take the throne from Cersei could be a lot of fun. They might even meet in another open field. If Dany's dragons are both killed and defeating the Night King and his others, this could make the fight even more down to the wire. Dany has lost her edge, and now she needs to fully depend on her and Jon's army. But personally, I really hope they don't defeat the Night King in the 3rd episode, and that's it, and they just go south to pummel Cersei. I want a little bit more. So now, let's talk about my less optimistic theories, which probably means they're closer to being correct. Dany and Jon get fucked hard up north, in multiple ways. The Night King with his undead dragon just wastes their forces. Dany is losing Dothraki and Unsullied left and right. Jon and Dany realize they can't win after a devastating loss at Winterfell and retreat with their armies south. Jaime has reached the north at this point and has told of Cersei's treachery and plans to not go through with their agreement. But they hope that they can finally convince her, or rather intimidate her, into helping, because obviously she doesn't give a shit about anyone but herself at this point. They finally arrive at King's Landing to hopefully regroup there and find a less than willing Cersei. She doesn't care that they have an army outside her gates again, especially with the Golden Company inside the city waiting. Because she won't let them in or help them, Jaime goes in to talk with her, and realizing he put his dick in crazy and she's never going to change, strangles her to death. Or Arya with Jaime's face goes in to talk with her and strangles her to death. Somebody strangles her to death. Moon Boy, I don't really care. Jon and Dany now have King's Landing and wait for the others to march south to fight again. I still feel Dany and Jon heading south to regroup after they are steamrolled by the others is probable, and the Dothraki and Unsullied being at King's Landing could not be from attacking the city, but being ready for another undead attack. Okay, here's another alternative theory on why the Dothraki and Unsullied will be at King's Landing in Season 8. First, as I said before, Dany and Jon are going to be hit with some pretty heavy losses. Both northern soldiers, but also Dany's Dothraki and Unsullied. Seeing them turn undead is going to break her heart. After a huge fight at Winterfell, they realize the Night King has used it as a distraction, as he was having his other White Walkers and Whites march south, growing his undead army. Jon, with Jaime sharing Cersei won't help, decides to try again, trying to tell her the undead are coming down and will hit her soon. We saw leaked photos of Jon meeting with Cersei again in Season 8, and I believe he will visit her again to ask for help. She will, of course, refuse, forcing Jon and Dany to meet the Night King in battle. Or at least, deal with it on their own. Both on dragons. Don't you dare judge me. Finally, they will destroy him. They will then turn their eyes to the capital, knowing Cersei cares for no one but herself and should not be in power. This is when they lay waste to King's Landing, getting Cersei the hell out of there. But then again, why after all that death would Jon be down for more? The greater good? Knowing that Cersei shouldn't rule? But there's this much less optimistic part of me that thinks that Dany dies during childbirth or after taking a wound and dying of blood loss, and Jon ends up taking control of her army. Maybe due to her ordering them, or Jon taking control of a certain dragon and earning their respect. Jon then leads the Unsullied and Dothraki to King's Landing to wreck Cersei's shit, blaming her backstabbing for Dany's death. He is absolutely pissed. If she won't help them, fine. He'll take her city and force what armies are left to fight the undead. Though there is this sick part of me that sees a slightly different scenario. So yeah, the Night King does trick Jon by holding him at Winterfell while another part of his army marches south. Maybe Jon does hold Winterfell barely, but then realizes, wait, the Night King disappeared and there weren't all the White Walkers here. He and Dany then hurry south with their armies to see that King's Landing has been wrecked by the others. And now they must face down against them, and with their dragons, burn the shit out of King's Landing to kill all the Whites. Okay, so enough with my thoughts. What do you think? Why are the Dothraki and Unsullied back at King's Landing? Regrouping after heavy losses in the north to fight united with Cersei at King's Landing? Are they there post-defeating the White Walkers to take the capital from Cersei? Do you think the Night King got to King's Landing while distracting Jon and Dany at Winterfell and has butchered the city, making it Dany, Jon, and their army's duty to go there and finish the Night King? Okay, thanks for letting me ramble like a child on a sugar high. Like, subscribe, and let me know your dark theories in the comment section down below.